All right, ready to get going for Sunday Breakfast with the Coach webinar. So hopefully people will be jumping on board ASP, and we will get the party started. So just waiting a little bit of a delay so I can see if anybody's out there, and then we will get going pronto. So just waiting for notification that everyone's good. Still don't have any numbers yet to look at. So I'm going to have a little problem today. I can't share my screen like I usually do. Problems there with this software. So I'm going to just read and copy and paste as much as I can for you guys. And hopefully everyone will be able to see that. So good. We seem to be getting the numbers calling up. So today, before I talk about the importance of testosterone for men and women, there's a couple other things I want to talk about. Make sure you hit your share button, folks. As usual, I'm trying to do some good stuff here, so I think a lot of people will be interested. And if you hit your share button too late, then people have to watch after the fact. So good to see people coming in from all over the world. And yeah, important topic. So as I wait for the numbers to go, let me know you can see and hear me okay. And again, apologize today. I can't seem to share my screen, which I know you guys like me doing, but there seems to be an issue with that today. So before we get started, I just wanted to, as you can see there, I wanted to do a brief word about the potato diet. So this week, making the rounds online, going viral, was all about some guy who lost a whack load of weight eating nothing but potatoes. And everybody and their brother was forwarding me the article or the copies of the article, etc. Because of my book that you see behind me, my book, Understanding Metabolism, I have a whole chapter on the potato in terms of if there is such a thing as a superfood, which there is not, but if there actually was such a thing as a superfood, the potato would be it. However, when people sent me the article, they were kind of referencing, hey, this backs up everything you were saying about the potato. Maybe you can use it. Well, the reason I can't use it is because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And the human being evolved never to be a mammal or a species that would limit itself to one particular food. So even though this is making the typical rounds in the diet realm, it speaks to everything that's wrong with the North American diet mentality, thinking that everything is about eat this, not that. There's way more to it than that. When you call something the potato diet and eat nothing but potatoes, it's no better than the grapefruit diet or the cabbage soup diet or all these ridiculous diets that came before that. So even though potatoes are a wonderful food, if you read my book, Understanding Metabolism, you know the potato has the highest satiety index. Satiety meaning how full or non-hungry you feel after eating a specific foodstuff. The potato ranks the highest, and potato is the best food nutritionally. People sending me that potato diet is something I wouldn't use because it goes against everything I believe in. No one should be limiting their diet to one specific food or one specific macronutrient group. That's just not how our brains evolved to eat, and eventually that would fall in on itself. So just a quick word about that, because a lot of people sent me that article. They found it in different places. It's obviously that article went viral. So that's why I won't use it, even though it backs up things I said. There was other people, even before this guy, in my book, Understanding Metabolism, who dieted on potatoes to lose their weight. So that's nothing new. But at the same time, it speaks to everything that's wrong with the North American diet mentality of eat this, not that, and that there's some magic foods that do all these magic things, and it's just not how our body works. Of course, if you limit yourself to one food, even if you limited yourself to ice cream, you would lose weight because eventually your brain would get tired of eating ice cream. So that's why I wouldn't use the article. Thanks for people sending it to me, but I thought it was important for me to point out why and how that article speaks to more of what's wrong with the North American diet mentality than what is right with it, even though it backs up a lot of things I said about the potato. So very, very important stuff there. So hopefully that resonates with you guys. And then I want to get on to all about the master hormone, testosterone, everything you want to know or should know, and get beyond that. And like I said, I did want to share my screen, but that function isn't working today. So we're going to, I'm going to just copy and paste the stuff that matters the most. So I'm going to get to that straight away. And as you can see, for more on the potato diet and gluten and everything else, it's in my book that you see behind me, Understanding Metabolism. I'll probably be referring to that book the next couple of weeks. So I got like something like 5,000 words written below. So I'm going to get right into it, all about the master hormone, testosterone. And using the word master in front of that is important because we talk a lot in the field of endocrinology about what the master hormones are and what they aren't and why they're called master hormones. So hopefully we'll be able to get to that. So over the course of the last several months, a lot of people wrote me to do a live session like this on testosterone replacement therapy, especially after the one I did on menopause. There just seems to be tremendous interest in HRT for men and women, and that's understandable for sure. So below, as I continue this discussion, some things you need to know and ponder, especially if you're over the age of 35, if you're female, and definitely over the age of 40 if you're male. So while the majority of this is aimed at men, make no mistake that adequate levels of testosterone is important in females as well, and is now becoming more and more prescribed to ladies over 40 as part of overall hormone replacement therapy approach to feeling better, functioning better, looking better, and being healthier as you age. So I'm just going to copy that and put that in here and post it up. So I don't know how much of that will show. So yeah, adequate levels of testosterone important in females as well as males, and it's being prescribed more and more in ladies over 40 as part of an overall approach to hormone replacement, to feeling, functioning, and looking better as the years add on. So here we go in terms of testosterone being all that and more. So some lesser known functions and facts about testosterone that people need to know, because people tend to think of this in one dimension, and there's a reason it's called a master hormone. So one of the fastest growing areas in medicine today is the use of testosterone therapy in men, particularly during the middle of the years, and definitely for good reasons. So just a quick reminder, folks, to hit your share button as well. So testosterone, as we all know, it builds muscle, increases muscle tone, and of course, it also has everything to do with healthy sexual function and libido. But to think that that is the only functions of testosterone hormone, as the fitness industry loves to harp on, that's just incredibly naive. There are many other vital functions of testosterone that are lesser known, especially not known in the fitness industry. So the truth is that testosterone is involved in so many biological functions that it's difficult to come up with a single biological system that is not affected by testosterone. So that is why I'm doing something like this today, because it becomes so very important. So it's difficult to come up with a biological system that is not affected by testosterone, and that's really important. So I'm posting that up there for you to see. So as such, testosterone is considered one of the master hormones. As I said, it's important, all right, for optimal health function in so many ways just beyond sex drive and libido. Experts are now considering testosterone as not just a gonad hormone, but a brain hormone as well. So that's really important too. And that's from, I'll show you the references at the end, and I'll post them so you guys can do your own homework if you want. So that's very important as well. So hopefully you're seeing my copies and paste there. That's my only option today. Some lesser known functions of testosterone. By all means, you can type in your questions. I can see your comments loud and clear, folks. So lesser known functions of testosterone. It protects the heart and the arteries. It reduces the risk of heart disease. That's right. It reduces the risk of heart disease. It can also counter high cholesterol and angina. Furthermore, testosterone protects other organs like your pancreas, your kidneys, your digestive organs, and even your bowels. A lot of digestive issues that people are trying to solve nutritionally, bloating, distension, a lot of constipation, things like that actually get solved with being part of testosterone therapy as well. So like cortisol, proper testosterone balance, which I consider to be in the high normal range, and I'll get to that, helps prevent joint and muscle pain, something I can attest to, osteoporosis, which is really important in women, and even obesity. Although obviously with obesity, there's many other factors involved. Internal and external elements are at play as well. So very, very important. But testosterone helps preserve bone mass, helps to reduce fat, and yes, this includes cellulite. And testosterone, lesser known, especially might be important to ladies over 40, is that testosterone can also tighten and tone the skin. Remember, the skin is the largest organ of the body. So skin health speaks a lot to biological age and things like that. So hopefully you guys are following and understanding that importance. Further, testosterone doesn't just fortify and strengthen muscles, but does so for the brain and nerves as well. And that goes not only understated, but it goes unstated in the fitness industry in terms of overall health. It's funny how the fitness industry will continue talk about overall health and then reduce everything to appearance. So if we're going to talk about health, let's talk about health as part of component of fitness and vice versa. So there's no doubt that the effect, there's a comment, as a metabolism expert, are there any other experts in the area of metabolism you think are worthwhile to read up on? Wow, good question. Ask me that again, Drew, at the end. I want to get through this lecture on testosterone so I don't keep ping-ponging back and forth to other topics. Great question, though. I will say, Drew, that the problem in the fitness industry is everyone talks metabolism and they're all talking out the side of their mouth because no one actually studies or knows it. They do a study in nutrition over here, and then they think that makes them a metabolism expert over there. And the two are separate elements. The two are separate animals. So we need more people studying metabolism in this industry, but it requires, I'm just going to be honest, it requires being a hell of a lot smarter than it does to study nutrition and parrot back components of foodstuffs. To understand metabolism, you have to be able to read industry texts, medical texts in the field of endocrinology, internal medicine, and things like that. So you have to be able to differentiate between the two. Excellent question. But most of the writers on metabolism come from those fields. So that's an important as well. In fitness industry, people tend to just think that nutrition equals metabolism, and they are two separate fields of study, as my book, Understanding Metabolism, points to. So great question, though. So let me get back to testosterone. There's no doubt that the effects of normal and optimal testosterone lead to a steady and determined, well-focused state of mind, okay? That's what a lot of people don't get, and I'll get to the importance of that for health, vitality, and well-being below. Testosterone also reinforces memory strength, and I think that's another thing that goes along unstated in the fitness industry, but becomes really, really important as we age. Anybody who's on here who's over 50 will be able to relate to that as well. So research with mice has shown testosterone supplements allowed elderly mice to regain their earlier capacity to learn difficult tasks with the same effectiveness they had when they were younger. And in humans, testosterone has been shown to influence several components of functional memory. So testosterone, as part of hormone replacement therapy, can also alleviate a lot of the inflammation and decrease the pain of arthritis as well. So you get a lot of variance in terms of the health components of what testosterone can serve in terms of overall health that go way beyond libido. So if you can relate to this and you're over 40 and you're on HRT, then by all means throw some emoticons on the screen or a comment and I'll be happy to read them. So HRT therapy for men and women, testosterone for men, estrogen for women, is also a way to guard against stroke. All right. In men, testosterone benefits the arteries of the brain in two principal mechanisms of action. Okay. These things are important to understand so people know when they're on hormone replacement therapy, all the residual and collateral effects of these therapies. So, so that's important as well. So the two principal mechanisms of action of testosterone in the brain. First, it helps strengthening of the muscle cell walls of the cerebral arteries, which is very, very important for ongoing cerebral health, dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that. Keeps them flexible and thus guarding against deterioration. Secondly, adequate testosterone means better anticoagulant properties. But to be specific, I'm not talking about oral doses of synthetic variations of testosterone here, like methyl testosterone and things like that, or anabolic steroid testosterone-like substances and androgens. I'm talking specifically about HRT, usually delivered in transdermally, is the most effective way, to my mind, to deliver that dose in a balanced and effective way. And I'll talk about that as well. So this is really, really like important stuff. Now, in the past and even today, some doctors warn men with cardiac issues not to take testosterone for any reason. They do so because some forms of testosterone are harder on the body and can lead to lower HDL levels as well. And way back in ancient times when they were first starting with all this, just like with women with estrogen, men and testosterone, there were some mistakes made, and there was a concern about prostate health and testosterone therapy, but that has been all but disproven and debunked. So only doctors who aren't in the know, really, and those will only be family doctors. You're not going to find any endocrinologists or internal medicine specialists that aren't up on knowing the benefits of testosterone for cardiac health. So very important. So the transdermal gels that I'm most familiar with and that I believe in the most, they're used on the skin. They don't seem to have any of the side effects. They don't have the same kind of liver metabolic metabolizing issues, and in fact can still be health promoting and even preventative in terms of cardiac health. So in men, signs of and this is important for even the ladies listening if you have a spouse. I'm going to get through a lot of this stuff that you probably never thought of before that could be signs of testosterone deficiency. Treating signs of testosterone deficiency is just sound practice as a preventative measure for all kinds of heart conditions. And that's likely something, again, the fitness industry won't harp on. Fitness industry seldom speaks to, because they talk only about the health, the appearance effects of HRT. And I want to get beyond that so that you understand the health benefits as you age of using modern medicine as it's meant to be used. So all this fitness industry sort of blowback against the medical industry just doesn't make any sense. We're living longer than we've ever lived before, and we're going to need help to do that in a qualitative way so that we stop measuring a life by how many breaths we take. And of course, as the old saying goes, we measure our life by the moments that take our breath away. Well, you have to have a qualitative experience for that, and hormone replacement therapy just makes good sense, and I'll harp on that as I go along. So a heart with plentiful supply of circulating normal levels of testosterone is well oxygenated and strong. Estrogen plays a similar role in women as well, which I discussed in my previous webinar on menopause. But this doesn't mean more is better. So I've known, as you've heard me speak in the past, I've known far too many wannabe pro bodybuilders who kept taking massive amounts of testosterone and died of sudden heart attacks because of it, who have been had parts of their body paralyzed by mini strokes, etc. So again, professional medical intervention is important. And by professional, I mean an endocrinologist, an internal medicine specialist, a gynecologist, if you're female, of course. I do not mean searching bodybuilding.com. So, let's grow up, for crying out loud. You're not going to get sound professional medical advice on those websites. So you got to look out for websites that are pretending to be informative in terms of accurate medical information, when in fact they're just trying to sell you on something. And there is no natural supplement replacement of hormone replacement therapy. Let's get that straight as well right now. So very, very, very important stuff to heed and know. Natural male hormones in balance stimulate optimum immune function as well. Although these aren't the only hormones or physiological processes that affect the immune system, but they certainly have a pronounced effect. Adequate testosterone also protects the thyroid from autoimmune inflammation. Very important. Another function of it being a master hormone, as thyroid is as well. And you'll see these two have a back and forth effect with each other. So testosterone serves as a protective and preventative effect in many systems of healthy body regulation. And that's really, really important. And especially a lot of the times, the signs of low thyroid are because of low testosterone and vice versa. So the impact of that can really impact your sense of vigor and vitality. So that's important to keep in mind as well. Steve's just saying he's been on HRT for 5 years, used both the cream and the injections. I found the cream wasn't as efficient. I've been using injections since. Why do you recommend the cream application over other delivery methods? Not so much the cream, but the gels. I like the gels. The cream can get stuck to your skin, stuck to your clothes, but the gels are more efficient. Transdermal delivery. Transdermal delivery just requires less liver involvement in metabolizing the hormone, and it's a more balanced delivery, I find. The injections I'll get to the injections soon, but if you're doing injections in a weekly basis, then that's better than doing bi-weekly or every 3 weeks. And I'm going to cover that, Steve. I promise. That's down below here. So I'm trying to be methodical, but very good question. So testosterone, like cortisol, increases your ability to handle stress. The right amount of testosterone can help reduce and prevent anxiety, depression, and excessive emotionality. There's stuff I bet you've never heard before about the effects of testosterone. So a lot of people like to lump in things like what they hear about roid rage and things like this, and compare that to hormone replacement therapy, and it's nothing of the same. So Michelle's just saying, I have a testosterone implant for my non-existent testosterone. My doctor likes the implant because the body only used what it needs. Yeah, I'm just getting familiar with the implants now, Michelle. They're not readily available, and it's not really a go-to thing that the doctors do, but yeah, it seems to be becoming more and more popular for some reason. And again, there we see a female doing, I think female, I can't tell there, testosterone replacement therapy as well. And I'm going to get to that. So very important, though, that you understand that optimal levels of the sex hormones, estrogen in women, testosterone in men, increases your ability to handle stress, reduce and prevent anxiety and depression and excessive emotionality. Like, in other words, it controls you being reactive to everything. Now, the side thing of that, if you're in the fitness industry, and one of the real important concomitant effects of that for me in the fitness industry, especially for females, if you think about it, if you have the right balanced amount of sex hormone that helps reduce and prevent anxiety, depression, and excessive emotionality, that's going to curb impulse control issues to do with food issues, binge eating issues, etc. So you'd be surprised that people with food issues and eating issues like binge eating disorder never look to hormone replacement therapy and its effects on being able to reduce and prevent anxiety, depression, and excessive emotionality. Because part of the food issues and eating issues is seeking some kind of emotional reaction to something, either to avoid stress or to combat stress. It's what we call maladaptive coping measures, right? So you're using food as a way to cope, either for relief or release. But as you can see, sometimes hormone replacement therapy can be an effect on that, whereas if you remove the cause, then you no longer have the symptoms. So I wish more people would think about that. So all this leads to better, more qualitative energy and endurance, of course. The right amount of circulating testosterone also contributes to positive mood and disposition. There's no question that testosterone can help you be more assertive and tenacious and give you the balls, pun intended, to take the initiative in any task in front of you. But once again, I need to point out that low levels of testosterone will likely represent the absence of these effects testosterone has. So you will be less tenacious, less likely to take the initiative, more like trying to prod your way through your day rather than getting up and owning your day. So the other side of that is if levels are too high, this likely destroys and mutates these effects as well. So if levels are too high, as in steroid using, testosterone using bodybuilders, then assertiveness becomes aggression and positive enhanced mood becomes anger and rage. So it's not about more is better. It's about balance. Okay. We lose our hormonal balance as we age. In my book, Physique After 50 and the Aging Proposition, I talk all about hormonal dysregulation and dysfunction as part of the aging process. This returns and restores that kind of balance. So Sherry's just saying a good point about hormones and eating issues. I bet this is rarely considered by doctors. It's never considered by doctors, and it's certainly never considered in the fitness industry, Sherry. My target is the fitness industry, where people keep wanting to think that their magic exercise programs and their magic diets solve every issue on the planet, which is just incredibly myopic and naive. And you can tell the level of expertise of any coach or trainer who thinks that way. It's a real bugaboo for me. So let's talk symptomology next. Let me get into the symptomology of low testosterone. Charles was just saying, I just had a heart attack and my cardiologist said that my T replacement therapy has something to do with it. What is my thoughts on that? I'd have to know your individual case. I'd have to look at your diet, other issues that affect your health, your fitness, those kind of things. But if that comes from your cardiologist, then by all means, his expertise should, replace mine because he knows your case. I don't. But I would also speak of Susie just saying, what type of doctor do you recommend? We have boutique style places popping up all over the area. Yeah, that's a good point, Susie. We have a real issue with that as well. So again, for men, endocrinologists and internal medicine specialists here in Canada, that's easy. You just ask your doctor for a referral. No doctor is going to say no to that. I don't know how that works in the States. And for women, you can add on there a gynecologist. A good gynecologist should be up to date on all this for women as well. So women, you have extra. You can still go an endocrinologist or internal medicine specialist, but you can also get reference to your gynecologist. And especially after I go through the symptomology now, Susie and others. So if you relate to any of this, then we'll get into that. So symptoms of low testosterone are numerous. First things first, most men who will experience low T to a degree where it affects your quality of life will be men in their 40s or older. And it's far more common than many of you know, with estimates being that 40% of men over the age of 45 have levels of testosterone so low that treatment would help them immensely. A common symptom that is very hard to diagnose because it's so general is one that marks potential low T is this. And I'll just see if I can post it. It's not so much that you feel bad, you just don't feel good either. You don't feel great. So you had this, what I call a flatline emotional experience of life. All right. In other words, you don't greet the morning, get up and saying, good morning, God. It's my old saying, instead of saying, good morning, God, you wake up and say, good God, it's morning. That kind of thing where you've lost your vitality. All right. So you don't feel like your former self, but it happens so incrementally slow and it takes such a long period of time that you chalk it up to other things like age, like stress, like lack of sleep, and other commitments that you have that sort of pull you in different directions. So you often just feel tired, you feel lazy, maybe a bit emotionally apathetic. A lot of ladies will relate to this, you know, the old point about men never wanting to talk or never have anything to say, or they're not listening to me. You know, that sort of emotional apathy can be signs of low T as well, can be signs of, you know, relationship dynamics, of course. But when you combine all these things together, these are things to look at. So very, very important. You'd feel tired, lazy. Some men experience emotional apathy along with these physical effects. Symptoms of low T are also practically identical to what's called dysthymia. Dysthymia is a mood disorder consisting of the same cognitive and physical problems as occurs with depression, but with less severe and long-lasting symptoms. So that's very, very important as well. If you look that up, I'll just post that here for you. The effects of dysthymia, mood disorder consisting of the same cognitive and physical problems as occurs with depression, okay, but with less severe and longer lasting symptoms. So depression and various mood disorders are often confused with low testosterone, all right, but individuals with depression often feel helpless and hopeless, and low T isn't marked by that particular marker of distinction. With low T, you just experience that flatlined existence that I just described. You just feel off, just often more blasé than before. In your mind, you tend to talk a good game of motivation, but when it comes down to doing the things that you want to be motivated to do, you just don't get around to doing them. So that's important, because a lot of people, like I say, they chalk it up to other things, and that's really, really important. So your low T checklist. Here are some of the more common symptoms and experiences for men with low T. I'm going to get to the generalities in a minute in terms for women as well. So you start to experience low to very low libido, of course. So you lose your desire for sex. And remember, that's hardwired into us. You know, to that desire for sex. It's our desire. It's one of our survival mechanisms, like the desire to eat. So if you lose that desire, that should tell you right away that there's something not right, because every human being who's healthy has a healthy libido. So libido tends to mark general overall health as well. Biofeedback, when I'm always preaching. So Julie is just asking, are you more prone to injuries with low T? Yeah, you can be, because low T, as I said earlier, helps with inflammation and protecting the joints. So that's a really, really good point as well, Julie. I didn't put it in my notes, and I should have. That's a really good point. So, yeah, low libido. Your strength and frequency for men of erections, of course, diminishes as well. This isn't always an erectile dysfunction issue that's solved with Viagra or Cialis. Sometimes these ED meds are treating symptoms and not causes. So that's important. Men with low T are going to experience less morning erections, which, as most men know, nocturnal or morning erections are common when testosterone levels are optimum, okay? So like when you were younger. Some men can experience trouble with orgasm, but to be clear, it's not just the sexual symptoms that mark low T, and thinking it's only sexual symptoms that testosterone is going to treat, as I've been talking about above. So I think you're pretty well informed on that by now. So this is where so many men get off track. Overall energy levels, sorry, I'm just looking at the comments. Overall energy levels are also affected by low T. So do you feel, the question is to ask yourself, do you feel more tired than before and more tired than you think you should? If you relate to, I used to have so much more energy. You know, I used to be such a go-getter. All those kinds of thoughts in your head can be symptomology of low testosterone in men and women. So your day-to-day levels of enthusiasm just for life. Are you enthusiastic about your day, about your exercise routine, about activities you enjoy or used to enjoy? Does everything seem kind of muted or dulled to you? Like you don't get excited and up for things like that used to get you going. So I call it waking up in the morning with a spiritual heart on. like a spiritual erection for your life, like getting up for your day, getting hard for your day. If you don't, that's the way I present it to my clients. If you don't have that kind of spiritual hard on for your day, that's another thing to look forward to. And for me, I can't imagine going through life like that. I can't wait to spring out of bed at 4 a.m. every day. So the terms virility and vitality, think about those two terms. Do you feel you have less of both of these in a very noticeable way? Furthermore, often you yourself don't think you feel grumpy or less of a joy to be around or just not really present for the other important people in your life. But these people in your life may notice such things. So the physical differences, of course, with low T, your muscles look softer. You put on belly fat around the waist more easily. That's true for women too. And while, yes, this can simply be effective aging, which I talk in my book, Physique After 50, it can be a symptom of low T if this symptom exists in combination with other symptoms. So I just want to write my book in there. Someone's asking. Physique After 50 is my book that talks about elements of hormonal dysfunction and dysregulation as we age. So very, very important. So again, with low T, not all symptoms are sexual, but it's a really good, if you're having the sexual signs, then you're already like well into the spot where hormone replacement therapy is going to make sense, because you've already bypassed, the other more subtle signs of being hormonally challenged. So now, not everyone is going to have all these symptoms, but the more of these symptoms you do have, the more likely it is testosterone treatment can help. Susie's just saying, issue is that most medical doctors are not knowledgeable in this area. It's quite frustrating unless it's a specific anti-aging doctor, and most are not doctors. They are nurse practices. Stay away from them, Susie. If someone is not a doctor, stay away from them. I've heard this before, that a lot of medical doctors are not knowledgeable in this area. That's why you get a referral. Refer to someone who actually specializes in, endocrinology, which is body hormones, or internal medicine, or a gynecologist, and just find someone that is. Remember, a lot of the times we forget doctors work for us, not the other way around. So you want to check into that and look into that. Very, very important. There's nothing wrong with approaching a doctor with being well armed with information so that they don't treat you like you're an idiot. And doctors are busy too, so it's not the doctor's fault, because a lot of times they are treating idiots. That's just, when you see so many people in a day, you have to learn to cut to the heart of things. So unfortunately, that's part of it. But always get referred to a specialist. So let me get back to it. So when testosterone levels drop far enough, men can also experience hot flashes just like women do. Men can experience clamminess, cold sweats, sweatiness. In general, low T can have effects on posture, which makes sense if you think about it. If you're tired and cloudy-headed and listless, you're more likely to slouch than you are to stand up straight. So a couple good points. Sherry's just saying she's found the same issue as Susie, but you really have to be an advocate on your own behalf. There's nothing wrong with that. Let a doctor know that you know. That's not a problem. And Monica's saying there's doctors who will not give referrals, and if they won't, find a new doctor. There's nothing wrong with that either. Nancy's just saying, is it possible to be a woman on HRT, estrogen and progesterone, and not have the symptoms of low testosterone? Of course. Yeah, of course that's possible. I'm talking about, not talking about absolutes here. We're talking about relativity. So when and where and how these things would apply. So think about that. So the symptoms of low T, they can come on slowly. Like I said, often barely noticeable at first. Because of that, some people will let not feeling like myself go on for 5 years or more before they even think there's a reason to get checked out. So Tina asks, is it possible to age well and not go on HRT? I'm going to get to that. I'm almost right there, Tina. So the short answer is not to my mind, but I'll get there. So remember, these symptoms, they can come on real slow. And because they come on so slow, you chalk it up to other things, the stress of life, to getting older, all these kind of things. So now here's the thing that I want you to know next, and I'm going to copy and paste this. A blood test may not tell the whole story. And that's where we get into some problems. I've had a few clients whose blood tests were indicative that they should be on hormone replacement therapy, but because they're in the normal range, their doctors wouldn't prescribe it to them. I'll get to what the real experts have to say about that. So a blood test can easily show when testosterone levels are beyond the lower range of normal. This one is easy to diagnose. However, when blood tests reveal low range normal, this still can indicate low testosterone and that a person can benefit from testosterone treatment. Many endocrinologists and urologists, or urologist is another expert to seek out as well if you're looking for proper testosterone therapy. Urology as well is a good specialist to seek out. So many endocrinologists and urologists, gynecologists speculate that too many family doctors are dismissing treating low testosterone because the blood tests indicate testosterone as being in the normal range, even though it's in the low normal range. Many labs only mark a blood test as low testosterone if the test is in the very low range only and outside the reference range of normal. This sometimes leads to ignoring the fact that a man still exhibits all the other regular qualitative symptoms of low testosterone, the ones that affect your quality of life. And that's when the two things need to be compared together, not just looking at blood numbers and measuring them in normal reference ranges, but what are the qualitative elements of how someone's living their life qualitatively. So if testosterone is in the low normal range and the symptoms of low testosterone are present, then treatment to bring testosterone levels back to mid-normal range or even higher may be in order. In fact, as urologist Dr. Morgenthaler, the leading expert in this area, points out, and I'm going to quote here and then I'll copy and paste this. Men exhibiting low testosterone but with just below normal testosterone levels, these men respond just as well to treatment as men with unquestionably low levels of testosterone do. So it's not just, oh, your blood test says you're in the normal range. Well, the blood test may say that, but my experience of life is saying something else. So that's a tricky dicky one. You have to get a doctor who's actually listening to you. So let me just pause here. Michelle, if you are perimenopausal or through menopause, you have extremely low testosterone. True. In addition to that, if your blood test in the morning, it's twice as high as in the afternoon, my doctor cuts it in half for the true value if the blood was done in the AM. Tricky stuff. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not qualified to comment on that. Let's talk about the realities of testosterone deficiency. Common symptoms of low T, of course, I just said, low libido, low energy, low overall vitality, weak erections, and chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue, tiredness, sluggishness. Experiencing these would tell you to ask your doctor for a blood test to include all these indices of testosterone. Remember, testosterone connected to thyroid, which is connected back to testosterone, which has effects on fatigue, tiredness, and sluggishness. So, Pam, that answers your questions. Are women's symptoms the same? And I'm going to get to that as well. So, yeah. And Sabrina's just agreeing or just saying what I'm saying, like seek out the advice of an endocrinologist and not just your OBGYN. So very, very important as well. So the symptoms of low T are often confused with depression, but low thyroid as well. And remember, the two conditions can coexist, one negatively impacting the other. So what you want to know, and the question was earlier, does this happen to everybody? Well, this is a direct quote from Morgenthaler's book. So sooner or later, most men will develop a deficiency in testosterone for many reasons. The simple fact is that the tissues and feedback loops that manufacture testosterone just get weaker or wear away as we age. And even with this fact, Up to 20 to 40 million American men are hypogonadal as of 2005 to 2010. Yet, listen to this, only 1 to 2% ever get treatment for it. That makes no sense to me. There are many, many men and women out there living out their lives feeling less than they can be and not knowing any better. So here are some effects of testosterone deficiency, and I think this will blow your mind. So the connection. For instance, 90% of men diagnosed with low testosterone levels experience nervousness and anxiety. 90%. Now imagine if you add into that the stresses of raising kids or a stressful job or things like that. So 90% of men diagnosed, with low testosterone levels experience nervousness and anxiety. I'm just going to post that up here. This is going to be a long lecture, folks. So this is a long webinar, but I think it's important. 80% of them experience irritability. 80% of low T people experience irritability. More than half, 56%, report feeling off and uncomfortable, and 50% report excessive excitability, as in edginess, always on edge. I know a lot of women relate to that comment as well. So it's not a cause and effect thing. It may not be black and white, that one thing leads to the other in a black and white, but it's worth considering. So Michelle, another different Michelle is just saying she takes testosterone as part of her hormone replacement therapy, improve her overall feeling and well-being. Yep, she highly recommends it. I'm going to get to that too. And then more than 75%, so I'm going to post this, of men who are low in testosterone experience depression. Can you imagine? More than 75%. That just blows my mind. I mean, again, here is what I talk about in diet and fitness all the time. Here is another example, and only one, remember what I said above, only 1 to 2% ever seek treatment. Here is another example of people, okay, who ignore their biofeedback. I'm so glad I learned at a young age that what my body was telling me was something I needed to pay attention to. And it's amazing in our day and age how many people are indoctrinated into ignoring the communication with their own bodies. Just ignore it. It'll go away. Oh, just ignore it. We get that all the time in the fitness industry, right? Ignore your hunger, ignore your appetite, ignore this thing and just follow this diet. Absolutely ridiculous. More than 75% of men who are low in testosterone experience depression. Can you imagine how that affects the other people in their life? Very, very important stuff. So one study of men hospitalized for major depression showed they all had testosterone levels lower than non-depressed men of the same age group. Boom. Okay. In almost every case, depression in male patients who were deficient in testosterone had their depression disappear after they began using testosterone therapy. And testosterone, here we go, to answer that question, is also a powerful antidepressant in women as well. So how many times the women out there, they're getting treated with anti-anxiety meds, antidepressant meds? I doubt any of your doctors for the women out there have considered, or their doctors have considered, testosterone being a powerful antidepressant in women as well. So I see that the copy and paste didn't post all of that. So I will remove that, and I'm going to post that because I think it's important. So I'm just going to copy and paste that because I think it's important for people to read after the fact. And hopefully you're hitting the share button, folks. We need people to get in on this. Sherry's just saying doctors will happily just prescribe, I think you mean prescribe, not describe, antidepressants, but HRT they won't do or are dismissive. It makes no sense. And Susie's just asking again, is the goal for a woman 50 or over to get their test levels back into the normal range? Absolutely. Yep. To my mind, you can discuss that with your doctor or expert, but to my mind, that's very, very important as well. So as you can see, the effects of ample Balanced or deficient testosterone are as much the effects are mental and emotional as they are purely just somatic. All right. So proper testosterone levels are not just about cosmetic appearance. It's about wellness. It's about vitality. It's about energy. It's about feeling better just beyond not feeling ill. Who wants to go through their life? Well, at least I'm not sick. That's not an optimal existence. I want an optimal existence. I want to get up every morning and eat lightning and crap thunder. All right. That's the way you want to be in life, is to have vigor. So, and vigor sometimes is removed from you after a certain age, removed from you because of hormonal disruption and dysregulation. So Julie's just saying, that was me, treated for depression, nothing worked, treated for low testosterone, depression gone. Wow, Julie, I'm glad you wrote that in there. Very, very cool. Very cool. Would love to hear that story sometime because, well, you obviously had a good doctor. Very important. So let me clarify something here. The problem in laying out all the positive and healthy but lesser known things that testosterone does is that it often leads to distorted thinking, and especially in members of the fitness industry subculture cult of physique over wellness. All right. A little knowledge can be a dangerous thing, which is why I used to hesitate even doing these kind of presentations, because I can't determine who my audience is. So, I kind of went out on a limb with this kind of stuff because of my own age, I think, as well as I got older, because I didn't want to be appearing as presenting, health stuff and then have it convoluted and sort of misrepresented as being, endorsing performance enhancing drugs and things like that. So a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing, and I've seen it. The plate heads in particular in this industry start thinking that if testosterone is so important and, expert Scott Abel says it is, and it's good for us, then more must be better. And of course, they use distorted irrational logic, and that starts justifying ridiculous drug stacks and insane amounts of synthetic forms of testosterone they ingest. But ironically enough, too much testosterone is going to produce troublesome effects and worrisome health risks in all areas where a proper natural amount protects the body and is healthy. So as you can read, as you can sort of gather from what I'm saying and all of this, that amounts to a hell of a lot of unnecessary risk. The examples I used to use in my workshops and seminars when I talked about all this is, think of extra strength Tylenol, and you buy a 500 capsule bottle, right? And you take 2 extra strength Tylenols to kill a headache. But if you take 2 bottles of 500 pills each day, whether you have a headache or not, you're now in a whole different realm. You're way beyond treatment, and you're into something your body can't handle. That's about the equivalent levels of testosterone that the bodybuilders are taking now. And I used to always say, in terms of quality of life and in terms of a healthy mindset, for instance, I use alcohol as well. There's a qualitative difference in a quality of life of someone who has a glass of wine with dinner a few days a week versus someone who drinks 40 ounces of rye every day just to get through their day. So, that's a cautionary tale of the difference between how the bodybuilder plate heads think about hormonal abuse versus what I'm talking about here, which is hormone replacement therapy for health and vitality and wellness. So just a little cautionary tale there. So if that resonates with you, throw some emoticons across the screen. And again, hit the share button. So Danny's just saying he lives in Belgium and HRT is almost a taboo. Doctors are hesitant to prescribing testosterone, even when it's clear that would help tremendously. They will favor antidepressants instead. Wow. If that's true, then that's a sad statement on the level of medical understanding there in Belgium, I guess, Danny. And that just that makes me shudder to think of that. So I have no comment on that. I don't know how to make doctors more educated in this area. So, or maybe just haven't found the right ones, but I don't know why HRT would be a taboo as our population all around the world continues to get older and older. So let me get back. Like many other master hormones, a deficiency of testosterone often comes with symptoms of fatigue, anxiety, apathy, diminished stamina for your day, and strength for normal physical exertion, just getting through your day. You're prodding through your day. You're not owning your day, as I said before. Your memory can suffer. Your creativity can become compromised because your mind is so affected by the overall somatic fatigue in your body. Your body is so tired that it starts affecting your mind, like I said. So, you're trying to get motivated in your mind, but your body's just so hormonally challenged that you just can't, your get up and go has gone up and went, as the saying goes. So, and cosmetically speaking, of course, your muscles just feel and look different, kind of a more flaccid experience and looking. So ample levels of testosterone in men are equated to better sleep. I think that's something that we never hear about either. So, and this is one of those negative feedback loops I'm going to talk about here as well. So let me just paste that comment so you can see that. So on the other hand, sleep, so adequate levels of testosterone men equated to better sleep. On the other hand, sleep deprivation and disruption due to stress or whatever actually cause testosterone levels to drop. And this leads to a vicious circle, what is known as a negative feedback loop. Less testosterone means more insomnia and disrupted sleep, and that leads to less testosterone. And more than 60% of testosterone deficient men report sleep issues as well. So that becomes really important as well. So imagine that more than 60% of testosterone deficient men report sleep issues as well. So you can see why it's called a master hormone. Of course, all these things I've just explained, low levels of testosterone lead to sexual apathy, weaker erection and ejaculations, less overall energy and enthusiasm. Lesser known fact is that low levels of testosterone in women can have similar sexual effects as well, including low sexual interest and lowered clitoral sensitivity. And I don't think women are hearing a lot about that. So that becomes important as well. So the effects of low T sexually in women are the same. So someone asked that earlier. So, and this is well documented. So similar sexual effects as men, lowered sexual interest and lowered clitoral sensitivity. So that means if you do actually have sex, you might not be experiencing the joy of it as much because you've got lower level of clitoral sensitivity, so you're not really enjoying it. So if you combine that with the fact that a lot of ladies lose interest in sex at a certain age, not just because of low testosterone levels, but because of the overwhelming amount of stress in their life, then that becomes a bigger picture, a bigger point in the picture in terms of solving the issue. So very important as well. So furthermore, lack of testosterone in women is one of the principal causes of bone loss. Women can also use the usual indicators of testosterone deficiency in order to recognize potential bone loss before it's too late, as this often remains hidden until it is in fact too late. Taking calcium supplements, if you listen to my supplement webinar a few weeks back, that's not going to do too much, but testosterone replacement therapy as part of your overall HRT, ladies, can help prevent bone loss before it's too late. So to you ladies out there, you can also observe diminished lean mass, which is going to affect, of course, your metabolism. The more diminished your lean mass, the less active is your metabolism. Diminished sustainable physical energy. A lot of you ladies get tired before you're even constructively affecting your metabolism in a good way. So that's important. Diminished muscle tone. So you're doing all these, metabolic workouts and stuff like that, but you're experiencing diminished muscle tone because of something you're not treating. And you're not going to solve that with magic workouts and magic diets. You're just not if you're over 40. So very, very important as well. Let me get through this. Boy, the comments are coming in fast and furious, which is good. I like that. So general fatigue and weariness and even low mood and depression as potential indicators of not enough circulating testosterone in the female body. So I'm just going to post that because I think women tend to think of this as just a male issue. So again, hopefully you're hitting your share buttons because I mean, to my mind, as someone who researches this day in and day out, I like to present to you the stuff that I think is imperative, not just fringe fitness stuff to make me sound well informed, but the stuff I think is the meat and potatoes of what we should be educating people about. So this is very, very important stuff. So if you're over 40 with these symptoms, then it is indeed something worth checking out. But I suggest doing so with an endocrinologist or an internal medicine specialist or a urologist over just your family doctor, as we've been saying. So Monica just says she wants to comment. The antidepressants versus HRT. Sadly, the med world is driven by the bottom line, not necessarily ethical, right choices, or they're just misinformed. Yeah, it's just, again, back to what Sherry said, be your own advocate. I try to do this stuff, and it's amazing to me how many people will say to me, oh, well, will you show us your research? Well, do your own research. I'm doing it for you, but, I can only do so much, and I can't cater to every individual out there. I look after my clients. This lecture has to do with me compiling my notes with my clients who are over age 35 and over age 40 for the last several years. And the research I did on their behalf resulted in this article / webinar. So if you're a client of mine, I'm looking out in this way, and I'll get to something related to that soon. So let me just continue. A lot of the newer research shows that menopausal women who take testosterone in addition to estrogen and progesterone have the best bone density. My female clients who have added testosterone to their HRT approach report being happier and more energetic than they have felt in years. So I'm going to actually post that because I think it's worth posting there for people who want to do a redo on this later, because you'll miss a lot of these points. This is how important and pervasive testosterone is. That's why I titled it. It's a lot. It's more. It's everything you've heard and then some. So very, very important. If females can get testosterone added to their HRT protocol, they tend to report being happier and more energetic than they've felt in years. So the sad part here is it's still difficult for women to find gynecologists or specialists who understand the benefits of testosterone therapy in the pre, peri, or postmenopausal female. And again, I just have to go back to Sherry's comments. You got to be your own advocate. It's not that you don't take no for an answer. It's that you present your symptomology and what you know about how testosterone can affect that. So, of course, in regards to bone health, testosterone is important for men too. Elderly men with osteoporosis heal faster after fractures if they're taking testosterone medication. As another example, men with metabolic condition of hemochromatosis, which results in osteoporosis, these men do better taking testosterone. In one study, patients' bone density in their spines increased by 13% and 5% in their forearms after 2 years of low-dose testosterone treatment because they were elderly. One low dose injection every 3 weeks, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in contrast, listen to this. Men with the same disorder who did not get testosterone because their blood tests were considered normal, these men lost 3.5% of their spinal bone mass over that same period of time. But to be sure, this outlines the importance of the power of testosterone to maintain and improve bone density. And if you combine that with weight training, then you're doing about the best thing you can do to combat the effects of aging and what we call sarcopenia, which is also in my book, of course, Physique After 50, and my other book, The Aging Proposition. So very, very important. Imagine if you combine testosterone with weight training, has nothing to do with taking calcium supplements. So very important. It also points to the fact that sometimes normal levels of hormone on blood test reading are not automatically signify sufficient hormone levels as well. What we see in this studies is the men didn't get testosterone treatment because their blood tests showed a normal range, and yet they still suffered bone loss that testosterone could have prevented. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys, and hit the share button if it does. So next, let's talk treatment. Within a few weeks of treatment, you feel like you have your true old self back again. Energy improves, mood improves, enthusiasm for life improves, libido improves. All these things are up again against that flat line experience that you've been having, or that cloudy headedness. Your head is clear, it's less foggy. You feel the essence of the real you again, what I call being youthful. You're never going to be young again, but you can be youthful for the rest of your life, and that's important. You get back having that vitality and vigor as being a normal day-to-day experience for your life. And of course, there can be physique effects as well, but more of a correcting these effects of low T than anything like a steroid effect or anything like that. So people in your life will notice the positive effects, positive changes in mood and attitude as well. And again, Tony's just asking, in my experience, have I seen women whose blood tests were normal but still needed testosterone? Yeah, sure. That's my opinion, though, and I'm not an endocrinologist and don't pretend to be. I'm just did the research. But yeah, I've seen that many times. And I've had a few clients who are definitely, in my opinion, all the symptoms of low T, but their doctors wouldn't assign it to them because their tests came back in the low normal range. All the things I'm talking about here, really. So yeah, I'm not a medical expert in this area, so you've got to take it up with people who are. I'm just sort of handing you the football and letting you run with it. So, but I am a keen observer, note taker, researcher. That's basically all I do. So my opinion is that daily testosterone use in terms of gels is better than twice monthly or so injections since we're talking about treatment as well. And that question was asked earlier. So, I think that's better. The day-to-day treatment is better. Yeah, Julie's just saying they call women normal even at zero testosterone, and that's why we need more expertise and more discussion on this for sure. So some endocrinologists and experts in this area suggest if you're going to take the injection route, then weekly injections that are low dose make better sense than higher doses every 3 weeks or so, as Dr. Morgenthaler points out, and he's the expert in this area. Three weeks can be too long between injections. Nearly all men are back to low T levels by 10 to 14 days, and in some men, testosterone levels can really bottom out after that. I'll give you the reference on that in a minute. So the fact is, low T is common in middle-aged men, and men can benefit from testosterone treatment, period. When it works, and it almost always works, you feel whole again. You feel better in many other ways than just simply an improved libido and getting your erections back. You function better both as a man and as a person, and that's worth considering because you should always consider the people in your life as well and how they are affected by your vitality and health or lack thereof. So that's very important. Now, let me interject. Testosterone treatment is not PED use. Let's be clear about that. They're different things. Testosterone treatment for low T helps get men to regain lost physical, mental, and emotional vitality and energy. So that is very, very, very important. All right. So that's worth me posting up here. And I'm almost getting there, folks. So hopefully you've been interested enough to hang around and hit your share buttons. So testosterone improves libido and erectile quality, of course. It can increase muscle mass and strength. That becomes a lot more important as you're aging than you may realize. Again, that's in my books, Physique After 50 and the Aging Proposition. Very, very important because these things in and of themselves increase muscle mass and strength, combat the effects of aging in many other ways, and cardio is never going to do that for you. So very important as well, and research is pretty clear on that. Testosterone treatment can also strengthen bones, improve cognition and mood as well, and testosterone treatment gives men and women their virility back. So not everyone's going to respond fantastically to testosterone replacement therapy, but if this is so, it's almost always a dose-related issue. Many doctors still underprescribe when it comes to efficacious doses. That's another problem. So again, let's be clear. I'm not a doctor. This is just my opinion, doing the research and what I've found. I've actually had clients go back to their doctors, not using the word trainer or coach, because that would just turn doctors off. But just saying they know people whose doses were a little higher who had better experience. And of course, the doctor increases the doses a little bit, and lo and behold, they start feeling the positive and constructive effects of hormone replacement therapy. So very important. Many doctors still underprescribe when it comes to efficacious doses. So that's important. As Dr. Morgenthaler says it, and here's a quote: "As I see it, low T is under-recognized, underdiagnosed, and undertreated." All right, I'm going to post that. I think that's worth posting. And I do have an important comment for trainers and coaches out there. So very important stuff. In my own practice, I have seen far too many men with low T who had been discouraged from trying testosterone therapy, shame, or they were told they didn't have the condition because of their tests being in the normal range. Yet many of these men responded to testosterone therapy beautifully, and they feel healthier and happier in addition to being better sexually. There's no good reason to deprive men of a treatment that can help them regain their mojo. And to that, I say, amen to that. So I'm going to get to your comments in a minute, because I'm just wrapping up here, and the comments are coming in fast and furious. I actually thought people might be bored with this this subject, but it appears not. So let's get to the conclusions then. Testosterone levels decline with age. That's a fact. Some people argue that since this is a normal part of aging, then it should just be accepted instead of treated. I find that outlook completely silly and myopic, and actually ridiculous. It's like saying that since dementia and Alzheimer's are part of aging, they should be accepted and not treated. I think anything that enhances quality of life should be considered for anyone. There are things to accept about aging and things to rail against about it. But just because some things are natural as we age, that doesn't mean we should resign ourselves to accepting all of them, especially if there are treatments that are relatively harmless, effective, and helpful to our quality of life. Telling people to accept natural changes for the worse is like telling people not to wear eyeglasses if their vision starts to suffer. That makes no sense to me. We have the technology and the advancement to enhance quality of life in many areas and arenas, and testosterone treatment falls into that category as far as I'm concerned. So furthermore, I find it tremendously hypocritical that we live in a day and age where everyone will go out and get Botox and tummy tucks and lipo and breast implants and everything else to look better on the outside in an effort to combat their own nature and their own aging. But people have a problem with medical intervention to feel better and function better and be healthier holistically on the inside, and to enhance their living from the inside out, as I like to say. That makes no sense to me, and I find that completely hypocritical. So this is my rant at the end, folks. Testosterone obviously affects the male libido and sexual performance, but its effects go so much deeper, as I'm sure, hopefully, you've been educated on. Testosterone also affects mood, thinking, muscle and fat distribution, and your sense of vitality and well-being, and even your overall health. Talk about the triangle of awareness: mental, emotional, physical, and somatic elements of existence. Testosterone has direct and indirect effects on all these sides of your triangle of wellness. So I've seen dramatic positive changes in my clients who I recommend to go see a doctor, or better yet, an endocrinologist or a urologist or a gynecologist. They get diagnosed with low T, treated with testosterone, and practically everything about how they feel changes for the better in a short time. They even become more consistent and committed to their diet strategy and training programs. In other words, they experience such a vitality boost, and it's not one that's transient, here today, gone tomorrow. It's one that's permanent. So when you get your mojo back, it's easier to maintain a commitment to something on your own behalf, something like a diet strategy, a program, things like that. So getting your mojo back can have a lot to do with self-discipline, right, and getting things done, including a physical transformation. So when testosterone is deficient and too low, you can feel sluggish and fatigued all day long. You tend to be cloudier in your thinking, less decisive, all right? So willpower can take a hit. All right. Low levels of testosterone move your mood more toward apathy at first and then depression. Low levels of testosterone can lead to disrupted sleep patterns, which then lower testosterone levels even more, lower your willpower even more, and that leads to a vicious circle of negative effects. I've had many clients who I've recommended getting checked out for HRT and then shortly going on replacement therapy. They report they've slept better now than they have in months, sometimes even years. So as you can see, as one of the master hormones, the effects of testosterone are systemic and can affect many other hormones and physiological systems of health. It makes no sense to just live with it when you don't have to live with low T if you don't have to, and you shouldn't want to. There's much more to testosterone than just muscles and heart-ons, and testosterone is a key component to health and well-being for men and women. If you have the signs of testosterone deficiency that I've discussed here, then it behooves you to go get checked out and keep getting checked out if someone will just dismiss you by an expert. Why live at less than your best if you don't have to? For any of you men and women reading this and you're over 40, if you experience any of these symptoms I've discussed here and you just don't feel like yourself and haven't for a long time, then why not go and get checked out and have a discussion with your doctor about testosterone treatment? You'll probably end up wishing you would have done it sooner. And then for my younger trainers and coaches out there, I really want to make a point about all of this. A warning to trainers: not everything you do can be reduced to your diet and your training program. People who are hormonally or biochemically compromised, this isn't fixed with a diet and a training program, as your love for the fitness industry wants you to think. It's really sort of incredibly kindergarten mentality to think so. If you work as a trainer or a coach with people over 40, their potential for HRT needs to always be in your mind. So if you're a younger trainer out there and you coach people who are over 40, if they just aren't feeling it, or if you feel they should look and feel better than they do, considering the amount of work that they're doing, then it should always be in the back of your mind to recommend they get screened for hormonal deficiencies. There's no magic metabolic training program for fat burning that overcomes metabolic dysfunction and dysregulation as we age. So it's really naive of fitness trainers and coaches in this industry to think diets and training just combat everything. If it did, then 70-year-old clients would look like 20-year-old clients. That's just not how our bodies work. So a warning to trainers to not be so incredibly naive about this stuff. So again, I want to, now if you want, I'll just post a few of the references here so you can look them up if you want. And then we can, we can call it a day. So I'm just going to put that in there. This is just one of them. I'll just put them on here real quick. The hormone solution. And then I will do a couple of the other ones. I won't do them all. I got like 10 listed here. As you guys know, I do all my homework. And I'll get to your comments. So Morgan Toller, Testosterone for Life, Recharge Your Vitality. That one, the year 2009. And then I think this one, and this will give you the studies I referenced as well, all of these books. So you can see, I'm never going to present to you stuff without references, folks. So that one, Morgan Toller, The Truth About Men and Sex, 2013. And then there's other references as well. But as you can see, I went on a pretty long period of time today, folks. Hopefully you found it worthwhile. And then the comments are just, people are Deborah's saying, can you talk about the effects of being overtreated with testosterone replacement? What happens when we prescribe dose is too high? All the effects of that you would experience with such things like in women, hirsutism, deepening of the voice, clitoral megaly, So your clitoris gets overly sensitive because it also grows, clitoral hypertrophy, hair growth on the face, bone density changes in the jaw and the muscles. You'd see that a lot in female physique competitors who have deep voices and male jaw lines, and they have to get waxed and or shaved. It's similar to that, but not as pronounced, those kind of things. But I've never heard of someone being overtreated if they weren't a physique competitor. So that's interesting. It's possible, but I've never heard of that before. So yeah, the women's, Catherine, good point. The Women's Health Initiative that ended in the early 2000s didn't recommend hormone replacement therapy. It did not address testosterone. But that since has been worked into all of the new stuff that's been done in the area. So it's been discussed in many of the newer books. Yeah, she's over 50, and the Women's Health Initiative, I remember that. But like with the early studies with men and prostate, a lot of the stuff has been debunked, or a lot of it has changed as treatment has evolved. So that's very important as well. But that was a really good point. I forgot I should have mentioned that, but I mean, I've been going an hour and a half. There's only so much I can mention. So as you can see, I'm a big supporter of hormone replacement therapy in men and women. I think it doesn't make sense to just let aging happen. My two books, Physique After 50, and my other book, The Aging Proposition, talk a lot about quality of life as we go along. And I think that's really, really important stuff. So the cream is hard to manage. I've never used the cream. I'm a real gel fan, Androgel. So yeah, that's important stuff. And of course, I think these are the more minor stuff, rather than let's talk about the actual, low T itself and hormone replacement therapy itself. And then we can sort of manage other things like doses, etc. Like how to avoid HDL going too low. I think diet has a lot to do with that, and certain health initiatives. Weight training is better than cardio. Those kind of acknowledgments as we age are important as well. So lifestyle really combined with this kind of therapy. Remember, that's important as well. So very, very, very important as well. So Sabrina is just saying, I don't think I can show that whole comment. I'll try to. Yeah, I can. So she's in this process right now. You have to become your own healthcare advocate. Absolutely. Sit down, have an intelligent conversation with your doctor. I've traveled the East Coast to find a doctor who would finally listen to me because I'm worth it. Good point. No official diagnosis yet, but I'm hopeful. Good stuff. Good points, Sabrina. Yeah, I think if you sit down with a doctor and show you're intelligent in your presentation of what you know and why and how you know it, the doctor's going to listen. I've sat down with many doctors who have ended up opening their CPS and looking through it and going, oh my God, you're right. Oh my God, you're right. They don't mind. Good ones don't mind, as long as you are actually well educated and you don't just think you are. And like I said, there's a difference. Let's not forget the amount of people who think they're educated because they do a 10-minute Google search and they end up on bodybuilding.com. That's not an education, folks. That's just nonsense. So I'm talking about true knowledge. I'm not talking about feeding your ego. So that was a really, really good point, Sabrina. Thank you for adding that. So, folks, that's almost 90 minutes. That's way over my time. Hopefully you benefited from this. If you did, you got to hit your share button every week for these webinars. And hopefully you guys will attend every week, and I can keep adding important stuff for you. So if you liked what you heard today, hit your emoticons across the screen. I can't see them, but they really help with Facebook reach and things like that. So if you can, by all means, hit the emoticons across the screen. Let me know you're out there. That was a long one today, folks. I'd like to say I apologize for it, but I really don't. I put in the work to try to help benefit all you folks. So hopefully you did benefit from this. Sorry I couldn't share my screen today. There seemed to be problems with the software. And then behind me, of course, you see a number of my books that may help you next time as well. So with that, folks, there's a football game starting in 5 minutes, so I think I should go and enjoy my Sunday, and you enjoy yours. And thanks for being out there, because if you weren't out there, it wouldn't make much sense for me to be in here presenting this to you. So I will see you all next week.